Hello, folks. How are you today? Oh, you're muted, Jill.
Yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good, good. I'm in a new place today. I'm in a colleague's office and it's very echoey in here.
Oh my.
I'm always having to find a place to present.
You do get around, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In the nicest of ways, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. I have a pretty packed couple weeks. I need to travel to both Kigali, Rwanda, and Arizona in like 2 weeks in a row, back to back. So that'll be fun.
Wow. That sounds amazing though.
Yeah, ask me after.
What are you going to be doing in those other countries?
So we have these partners, KTH University, which is a technical university in Sweden, and they do some really interesting things with what they call question-based learning. So we gave them the idea that like you could possibly build a whole course just with formative practice. And, if you write rich feedback and hints that you could, progress. And so they've been doing experiments, doing that and giving workshops on it. And so I'm traveling with them to give a workshop on question-based learning and to a team of healthcare educators in Rwanda.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I get to show up and give a talk on learning objectives and skills. And then while we're there, we have a CMU as a campus there. So I'm hoping to connect with some colleagues over there while I'm there. And then for those of you who may not know or involved in Icicle at all, which is that learning engineering group that I'm involved in, a woman named Danielle McNamara, who is a learning scientist out of Arizona State University, just established a learning engineering institute. And so they're building up. It won't be degree granting for a while. Right now, they're trying to figure out their research agenda. And so I'm going out for a meeting, a convening of folks for that in the following week after I'm in Rwanda. So fun stuff for sure.
That sounds amazing.
So welcome everyone. I was just babbling while we were waiting for folks to join. And I want to tell you all to not fret if you're behind. Lots of folks are behind. And this is the last synchronous session that's on the agenda, but we have additional office hours and we're not going to rush you out the door. We really want you to be able to complete your projects and get some data generated on them and all of that. So, and being that this is a pilot, we can kind of take liberties. So yeah, I'm glad that you're happy to hear that. So, stay tuned. We'll talk more about this towards the end of today's session. But we'll wait a few minutes. The first little set of slides are going to be delivered by Tanvi, who is actually in Pittsburgh today. So I got to see her in person, which is rare. She's off on campus with some meetings. So I know she plans to join and give the presentation. She is, she's coming on. Hi, Tanvi. Did you find a quiet place to?
Norm's office.
Uh, are you downstairs?
Yeah.
Oh.
At first, I thought you were in the fine arts college because they all have these big wooden doors. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's something. I'm like, never mind. This is actually a brick wall.
It is.
Even more, never mind.
And I took Lindsay's office, Tanvi, so that's why I'm not in my office. If you didn't see me when you went by, and I don't know if you can hear it, it's super echoey in here. She has nothing on the walls yet, so it's like real empty.
Yeah, I thought I would have.
So I think we could probably get started. Tommy, just so you know, I let folks know that, we're not rushing folks out the door, although this is the last synchronous session, we'll give them ample time to and time with us as well to finish your projects and get to that improvement plan. So Tommy, you want to start? Do you have it ready?
Yeah, just a moment.
Yeah, no worries. There's still folks coming in.
Okay. So welcome to week 6. We'll be going through data-driven improvements today and actually looking at the data or looking at different ways of analyzing your data. And we'll be starting off with some housekeeping stuff as usual, then going through some examples of how we analyze data in different contexts, the tools we use and the methods that we'd employ. And then we also will be Erin will be going through a template on how to look at your course data. We'll also be going through publishing and how you'll be collecting data within the courses that you have created. And then we'll have some working time and a Q&A session. So in terms of housekeeping, the only thing that we had from our end was that the readings and discussion posts for this week are due on Saturday. They have not yet been posted on the Taurus platform and Canvas, so they will be due on Saturday. Is there any questions that you all had?
They're excited for the last session. I'm like sad about it, but
Yeah. We are having office hours next week, right?
yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay. So when we are thinking about analyzing course data, there are some different ways we look at the data. The first one is overall patterns within the data, high level patterns that we might see. Second is looking at outcome level data related to your learning objectives or skills. The third is the item level data related to all the assessment items within your course. And the fourth is the course level data, looking at patterns of usage and what kind of feedback we are getting from students. So for overall data patterns, things that you might want to look at, or like what are the data points, are basically like if you are getting feedback from your assignments on project work, then those feedbacks are also data points for what are the things that can be improved. And like, if in case you don't have access to instructor feedback or feedback from this course, in the future you could also review the course design that you all are working on against the rubric that we have provided, and see if things are matching up, if there are things that are missed out and could be included. Some other insights that you all could look at is the instructor reports on the Taurus platform, where we could view overall student progress on each module and overall student proficiency on each module to see how much students have completed, if there is a point that they are dropping off, or if there is like more participation in one module as opposed to another. Would give you some insight on how you might want to think about redesigning your course. The other kind of data that we have is related to the outcomes or the learning objectives, where we are providing data on how students are performing on each of the learning objectives in the course. And for that, we have two different ways to do it. One is in the authoring view, we have an insights tab. If you all have worked in Taurus, you all have seen that there are different tabs like, I think, create, curriculum, insights, so on and so forth. So then in the insights tab, when you have implemented the course, you might be able to view data for each of the activities, how they could be sorted by pages or by objectives. And the different metrics that we have here are number of attempts for each of the activities, relative difficulty for each of the activities, eventually correct for each of the activities, and first try correct for each of the activities. I think from here, I think relative difficulty is the one that might be new or something that you all might not have come across, where it's like the percentage of, or the ratio of the number of incorrect attempts or the number of times the students have asked for a hint upon the total number of attempts that the students have made. And when we view this by objective, we'll be able to see how students are doing in activities related to each objective. Again, this is an explanation of the metrics that I was talking about earlier. Number of attempts is the number of attempts that the students have submitted. Relative difficulty, as I mentioned, is the number of incorrect answers or the hints that students might have requested upon the total number of interactions or attempts that the students have. Eventually correct is percentage of students who eventually submitted a correct response. And first try correct is students who submitted and got it correct on the first attempt. You might also be able to view outcome level data on the instructor reports view as an instructor, where we have the reports tab, and within the reports tab, once you have published your course, you'll be able to view all these insights, where there is the content tab, students tab, but then there is also a learning objectives tab. Within the learning objectives tab, all the learning objectives are mentioned with how students are doing in each of those learning objectives. Another outcome that we might be able to view is if you have appended surveys at the end of each of your modules. Like we have at the end of each of your modules, we're asking how confident you're feeling with completing assignments related to each of the learning objective. Within that module, you might, like, some say that, okay, I'm feeling complete, like all, like I can complete the assignments on my own. Some say that I cannot. But when you look at the data in an aggregate format, you can say that, okay, a lot of my students say that they are able to complete learning objective A on their own, but they are saying that they would need more support with learning objective B. So maybe those are areas where you might want to focus on within your redesign or within your teaching. And then when we look at item level data, what we do is for our case, we are running a script with item analysis on each of your multiple choice questions, and we are saying how many students attempted option A, how many students attempted option B, so on and so forth. So the graph that you see on the right hand side shows the distribution of how students are performing and how many selected each of the options within that multiple choice question. And just by looking at this data, you can say that, oh, if a lot of students are selecting option C, which is an incorrect response in this case, more than option A, then you might say that there is definitely a misconception associated with option C. And we might want to think about addressing that misconception in the redesign of the course, either by adding more instructions or adding more problems or scaffolding to that particular problem within the course. And for the fellowship and for your own projects, once you have published the course and we have collected data, we'll individually be running scripts on each of the course data to provide you with this item analysis. Did anyone have any questions? The item level data can also be data that against a question which is a single response question, and what are the answers that students have provided against that single response questions. And you might also be analyzing that data and seeing if students have answered in a particular way. If they are all giving the same incorrect answer, then maybe there is a way to address misconception for that particular incorrect answer within your redesign. Course level data. So when we look at the overall course, what kind of data is going to help us redesign or think about steps for redesigning? We have the qualitative feedback that students have provided either in the form of in-class comments or in surveys at the end of each modules, if they were able to understand things within that module, if they had any other areas where they needed help or topics that they were not able to understand. So there are different ways to collect that qualitative feedback, but we have used end of module surveys a lot within our course that you have seen, and that is one way to collect data and see that what are the next steps for redesigning. We also look at patterns of use. As I earlier mentioned, are there students dropping out after a point within the course? That point might be where like students are finding it more difficult or they are not getting enough scaffolding. Are there instances where students are more engaged? And so if you've done something well within a module and students are more engaged, you might want to see if those pieces of instruction or assessments could be replicated in other modules as well. And when I say replicated, obviously I'm not talking about taking the same instances, but like the same format. Colleen, that's correct. I think we'll be posting. Colleen asked where can I find this PPT in Taurus, and so we'll be posting this on Taurus probably by end of the day today. And I'll also be providing a link in chat. And in the aggregate, where do students, we also might want to look at where are students doing well. Those are the learning objectives that we might not want to think about for redesign, but then where students are not doing well, we might want to look at those learning objectives and see if there are if there is more instruction we can add, or if there is more scaffolding or more assessment problems or practice problems that can be added. And then what are the outcomes where students are succeeding in the most? Again, like if there are outcomes where if there is a particular module where students are succeeding, then we might want to just see if there is a pattern on how that module is, what is the instructional method that is used within that module, and try to see if we can replicate it for other instances. Analysis in DataShop. So DataShop, as you all might have heard in our previous presentations a little bit, it is also one of the Simon Initiative tools, and it's one of the largest repository for doing educational data analysis or mining. It was developed over here at University of Pittsburgh, CMU, and a collaboration with other universities as well. We can definitely provide you access to DataShop once you all have collected course data, and then we can instrument that data and look at different tools that we have within DataShop for your course. So what are the tools? I'll just talk about them. No, I'm not able to go to the next slide. I'm just going to stop and start again.
And while Tanvi's doing that, I can tell you that when we walk through the template that we created, that will also walk you through the questions to ask and things that were just gone over in Tanvi's presentation. We're kind of giving you a little bit of a teaser for the more advanced analysis tools that you can use when you have a lot more data collected on your courses. Yeah, so after students have gone through the course in OLI Taurus, you can export the data to DataShop. It's again like the world's largest repository for learning data. DataShop provides a visualization of data with learning curves. And this learning curve analysis is what we usually do to give us some idea about how students are doing in each of the skills within the course. After like a learning curve that you see over here in the screen visualizes change. There are two learning curves that are there on the screen. It visualizes change in student performance over time. The line graph displays opportunities across the x-axis and a measure of student performance along the y-axis. So the y-axis represents the error rate, or how students are doing. Like if they are failing, then obviously the data points are much higher in the graph than if the students are doing well. So a good learning curve reveals important improvement in student performance as opportunity counts. That is, for a given knowledge component or skill or a learning objective, you would be able to see that the learning curve dips, or that with each opportunity, the error rate decreases. And then it can also describe performance at the start of training, the rate at which learning occurs, and the flexibility with which the skills are acquired. There are different types of learning curves that are categorized within DataShop. And you can also categorize them by knowledge components, that is by skills in this case, or by individual, for individual students as well. And if you do it by skills, then it will be an aggregate of all the students within that class for that particular skill. So as you can see on the right-hand side, we have a learning curve where the error rate is first low, but then you can see that the error rate goes up with probably opportunity number 4. And then again, you see the error rate going down. So for that particular skill, we can say that the learning curve is definitely problematic. That means that students are having some difficulty in learning. But on the left-hand side, you can see that the learning curve itself has a steep curve, and that means that for each opportunity, the error rate is decreasing.
That means as students are learning, they are eventually getting the answers correct. So when we look at learning curves or analyzing learning curves, in this particular example, we looked at the problematic learning curve where we saw an increase in error rate. So we might want to analyze further and look at what is happening over here. In this case, these are learning curves from a causal statistical reasoning course. And you can see that the KC itself, or the skill that it is analyzing, is for categorizing variables on path as a collider or a non-collider. So when we look at this particular data point where students are not doing well or the error rate suddenly gets higher, we click on this within DataShop and we find out which opportunity it is related to. That means that what is the question associated with this data point. We find out that the question here is asking students about categorizing a particular variable within a path as a collider or a non-collider. And we see that in this case, the opportunity is opportunity number 3 that you all saw in the learning curve. That is this X3. And students are incorrectly identifying it as a collider. When we look at, when we go in further within DataShop, we'll be able to even see the feedback for each of the answers. And we see that over here, X3 cannot be a collider. The feedback is that it cannot be a collider since it's a mediator, and all mediators are non-colliders. So we might say that, okay, so students are not able to identify or distinguish between what colliders are and what mediators are. And this is a skill that they might not have been learning within the content, or they might not have come across earlier within the course. When we look at the course again closely, we realize that there was no learning objective or skill related to identifying points as mediators within a path. And so what the learning engineer did in this particular course is went in, after looking at this data, went in and redesigned the course so that it had an additional skill of identifying points as colliders within a path, mediators within a path, given many instances of colliders and non-colliders. She also included a multiple practice problems for that particular learning objective. And after that, there was an improvement overall within the learning curves that we are seeing. Another feature or another tool that we have within DataShop is a performance profiler. You can see over here that it shows the top 10 questions where students are doing well within the course. And we could filter this view so that we can see top 20 questions that students are doing well within the course, or top 10 questions where students are not doing well within the course, depending on the data that we want to see.
I believe this is top and then bottom.
Yeah. So like bottom 10 questions that students are not doing well in the course. But that students got correct in the course. Another feature that we see is the error report. The error report examines data for students' first attempt only. Because we are collecting data for learning curves and for other parts of reporting, we are counting only student first attempt data. And the error report provides summaries of student performance by step or knowledge component. It shows actual value students entered and the feedback they received. Over here, you can see that it says instances where students got it correct, students asked for a hint, students got it incorrect, or the students who got it incorrect for another particular answer. And this report provides summaries of student performance by knowledge component or even by individual questions. And student attempts are class. So like as you see in the table, the first column has evaluations where the entry is classified into 3 evaluation types: correct, incorrect, and hint. And each evaluation type corresponds with a background color that you can see. Then you can see on the next column as number of students, and the number of students that attempted this step expressed in the form of count or percentage of students that attempted this step. And then you can see the answers that they provided or selected, and then the feedback for those answers that was given to them. Classification is also used to further describe the student-problem interaction. Example, some tutors employ multiple hints and error levels. Another analysis that we do is discontinuity analysis. In this analysis, we try to analyze how well students are doing, not only in formative assessments that you can see over here with the help of this learning curve, but then how are they also doing in summative assessments? And that is represented by the yellow dot that you see over here in this diagram. So if students are doing, as you can see, the error rate for the performance in the formative assessments is low, and the error rate for the performance in summative assessments is high. So you can see that there is a mismatch in performance between formative assessments where students are actually doing well, but then suddenly in summative assessments, they are not doing so well. And so you might want to go in and look at your instruction and see what is happening, or are we giving enough scaffolding to the students so that they do well within the summative or the final exams. Here is an example where a learning engineer went in, did some redesigning, and they tried to close the gap between the performance in summative assessments and formative assessments. So you can see that the red line or the red dot over here indicates their performance in the formative assessments, and the yellow dot indicates their performance in summative assessments. And you can see that the gap has almost closed, and they are doing just as well in summatives and formatives. All right, I think I'm right on time. I'm going to hand it over to Erin for talking about data-driven improvements. But before I do, I just wanted to ask if there are any questions regarding this section.
A lot to take in. Well, thanks, Tanvi. I think that maybe we'll get some questions with as I go through the improvement plan stuff too, because it's a little bit of iteration on what Tanvi went over, but more in alignment with how you guys will have to think through the data that you see. And so, Tanvi, are you staying on or are you dropping off?
I'll be dropping off in 10.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Tanvi. That was really helpful. So Tanvi showed you a lot of the different analyses that we can perform. As you know, we're developing a new You're All in Taurus, which is our new platform. A lot of these analyses were taken from data from our legacy platform. We can do the same with Taurus data as well. It's just not as easy because right now we have to do some workarounds and things to make it happen. Which is why she mentioned the script to get to that item analysis. But I'll go through that a little bit more when we get to publishing as well. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you the template we put together for you for thinking through your data-driven improvements and the template to fill in. That will be the final thing you need to do to complete the fellowship. And we tried to make it as simple as possible for you. So really it's just a simple table you fill out. And by the way, you can add as many columns, as many rows as you want to this table for as many observations and improvements that you want to make. We just got kind of a starter table for you. And I'm going to go through these steps because below the table is a list of steps that you can perform and things to think about and do as you go through and look at the data that you generate that has been generated on your course designs. So what we tried to do here is give you the steps to guide your thinking. And let me go ahead and give you the, I don't really know how we're going to give this to you. We'll probably put this into the course. I was really just cleaning it up right before this meeting. Oh, thanks, Yue. So she provided the link in there. So the first step you want to do is really look at your data. Well, first of all, you want to think about what were the things you were trying to accomplish with your designs. Was there a certain student population that you were targeting? Was there a particular intervention that you designed for? Was there a particular design that you were trying out, trying something new? So that is the first step, to really think about and note those original hypotheses that you had as you were starting to develop your course. So we have some things here, and you don't have to note all those hypotheses in your table above, but those are the first thing that you really want to start to think about. So what's your initial hypothesis or hypotheses? What data and conditions were you needed to prove or disprove your hypothesis? And do you have all of the data that you need? So that's the first thing to think about. And this is all part of step one, because it's all about getting that first column of this improvement plan filled in. So another thing you want to think about next, is to really just take a look at some observations about your course and the data that you're seeing. So using the tools, the data that Tanvi shows you, and I'm not talking data shop, I'm talking about just looking at the instructor dashboard for your course and seeing where students are, where they are, where they've dropped off, where they seemed most or least engaged. If you see a lot of where every activity on one page, every student did, but then you get to the next page and nobody's attempted the activities on those pages, their questions on those pages. That's something to note. That's something observable and interesting about what you're seeing in the data. When you start to look at that Insights tab in the authoring, and I can show you again where that is in the authoring tool, then you start to look at how many students actually attempted your questions, and did they get to correctness on the first attempt? That tells you something a little different than if they get to eventually correctness. Looking at that difficulty ratio, if every student needed a hint, that might tell you something about how difficult they found that question to attempt. And so just some of those things that you want to start to look at that data and look for particular patterns that are interesting, or items that you saw, like, on a particular item, assessment item, no student ever got to correctness. There could be a lot of different reasons for that. But right now for step one, you're just noting those things. So we have a list of questions here that might help you guide your thinking and things to look for. And then step two is to really start to form new hypotheses about why that observation is important. What you saw going on. So you saw on one assessment item, no students ever get to correctness. Okay, you put that in that first column. Right next to it in column 2, which is step 2, you start thinking about possible reasons for that to have occurred. So in the example I'm giving, where it's an assessment item that no students ever get correct, ever, there could be a couple different reasons. First and foremost, the first thing I think of is does it even have a correct answer technically coded in? Like, did you maybe not author it correctly to where there is even an ability to get to correctness? That's the first thing I look for if I see something like that going on in a question. The second thing might be, okay, well, what are the students answering? If they're not ever getting to correctness, is there a pattern? They're all hitting, in a multiple choice question, for example, they're all selecting B and as their first option. And so the data that we provide can give you that deep dive look into, okay, where are students answering? If they're not answering correctly, if they're not getting the correct answer, what are they answering? And if you've designed those questions to target misconceptions and to target the skills, then you will be able to look at that data and know something about it just from looking at the data itself. So you look at the data on a question and you see, okay, A was the correct answer, but all students are answering B, and then dropping off and not even trying to get to correctness. Well, there's a lot of different reasons why that might be occurring. And you can see that maybe B, the answer option B that everybody is selecting first, has a certain misconception that you were targeting with that answer option. So you're like, oh, of course, they all think this, and I obviously haven't provided maybe enough instruction or enough feedback to help them get to correctness, to help them understand the difference between the correct answer and that one answer they all keep selecting. What you really want, if you have targeted misconceptions appropriately, is a nice even distribution across all of the answer items in a multiple choice question, as the example. With open-ended responses, you can really start to get at, looking at students, how they answered them, and if they are, have some understanding. So that's a reason why you want to have a nice mix of item types in your targeting every skill. So I know, for example, I've accidentally, or not really wanting to, created a bunch of true false questions against a skill and no other question types. For me, when I start to look at the data, I mean, if you start to think about it, each of those questions is a 50-50 chance of guessing, first of all. So I have to take that into account when I look at the data. Second of all, if that's the only data I have, then it's really going to be hard for me to target and figure out what the misconceptions and mistakes students are making. And so you really don't want to keep to any one particular item type. You probably want to mix. And if it's a cognitively difficult skill that you're targeting, then or higher level skill, then you most definitely want to probably write at least one open-ended response, and that will help you even get at maybe some misconceptions that you didn't build in to your automatically graded questions. So sorry, I meandered there a little bit, but I get really into this. I really love diagnosing issues with the course based on the data, and really looking, and it's like a puzzle, but it's a process. It's not like a free-for-all puzzle. It's, there's only so many things that can happen in your designs that will not lead to mastery. And so for step 2, we've listed some things that could be culprits to the items that you identified in step 1. So things like maybe the learning objective or the skill is too broadly defined. And so it's a pretty large grain size skill or objective, and you only have 3 questions against it, and it really didn't give you enough data to know, or they're still not understanding, the learners are still not understanding and getting to correctness. There might be hidden skills that you're not providing enough practice on to reach mastery. It could be that assessment items aren't mapped to the right learning objectives or skills, that they're too difficult. Again, if you're seeing that students are never getting to correctness, or taking on a multiple choice question, taking 3 tries to get the correct answer, there's an opportunity there for you to possibly build in more scaffolding and targeting misconceptions directly in the instruction. Sometimes there's just not enough data. And I think that what you all find as part of this project, that you might end up with not enough data on it against any one given skill or learning objective. And that's okay. The data will also help you, the data that you do collect will help you figure out what exactly you need to build out more assessment items and practice with. Then step 3 is to identify what you possibly might want to do to help remedy the situation, to help get more data on hypotheses that you're making about what's going on in the data. So for each of the observations that you make and each of the potential performance issues that you might have, you think might be going on, the next step is to really just say, here's what I'm going to do about it. Here's how I'm going to iterate my next design. If I don't have enough data, then I'm going to build more items against that skill to make sure that I collect data. If I see that students aren't getting to correctness for any given skill or learning objective, well, I need to dig in and maybe add more scaffolding or break things down a little more, provide more worked examples, maybe provide a video instruction to provide a multiple representation of that instruction to help students who are not grasping the concepts. There might be that you're targeting the wrong audience. Maybe you're finding that what you thought was prior knowledge that these learners were going to come in with, they're not. They obviously, from the data that you're looking at, aren't coming in with that prior knowledge. And depending if you built in a pre-test and post-test, or even if you see that students aren't able, if you've created lots of questions against a particular skill and you see a pattern in how those answers are coming about, like students might be doing well on, say you have 10 questions against a particular skill, and students are doing really well on the first 3, and then suddenly just are not able to get to correctness on the rest of them. That's an indicator to me that there might be an extra skill in there, that suddenly the questions got a little bit harder and you have to kind of dig in and figure out why. And so what you're actually doing is identifying new hypotheses and new experiments, essentially, to see if you can shore up the problems that you're seeing that the learners are having. So there's some possible new hypotheses here and things that you might want to do. You might want to add, maybe you see students are dropping off. You have 10 pages in a course and for some reason they're not getting past page 2. Maybe there's not enough motivational elements or engagement built in. You might find that there's new learning objectives or skills that you weren't targeting. I already mentioned creating more scaffolding, refining assessment items. There's almost always, especially in summative assessments, when you're providing a lot of questions against a lot of skills all at once, sometimes you'll just find that the wording on those questions is confusing. And if you take a good look, look at the data, it tells you, imagine this, like you guys are only developing a small project, but imagine this across a whole semester's worth of material. It can be really difficult to hone in and figure out okay, what do we do next with this course? Students still are struggling, you know this, from either data or from how they're performing from their grades. And you need to know what to do next, or you only have, 1 week to turn around some improvements before it's going to get delivered again. How do you prioritize? And I think the data is something that really helps with that. Like, so if you're looking at the data across the full semester course, and it's really showing you these areas are the places where students are just not getting to correctness or engaging with the materials, then okay, those are areas that you can easily target for improvement efforts, and you can make some iterative improvement efforts to those areas, run the course again and see if that worked, or see if it shows other areas needed for improvement, or maybe you'll have new priorities next time because you've shored up those areas and you've given students more help and better items or whatever you've done to improve. So there is maybe reconfiguring and remapping things. There is, I think I've already adding more practice. And then there can be just like typos. Sometimes if students aren't getting to correctness on assessment items, could be, a badly written item. It could be a mistake in the answer options. It could be a mistake in the content leading up to those assessment items. And so there's always places, the data will help you figure out what could be going on and where to look, essentially. So this is the final part of your project. And I'm happy to entertain any kinds of questions or even thought exercises around this. So what are your thoughts? Talk to me. Tell me what you think about all of this. I know it doesn't seem like it's not rocket science, right? But it's the process that's used that I think is so important. The immediate reactions to this. Do you think this will be helpful? Okay, so sign row.
I have a quick comment. Sorry, I
Please.
have very loud dogs in here. This is all very interesting. I have no idea how you think anyone could do this in a week turnaround time. So maybe you can, but I'll tell you what, I cannot. So, okay, if everything was set up to give me the data, which I don't know how to do, and I don't have the tools for, and if all the things were there, maybe, but maybe for people that this is their only job, like I don't know how anyone could do this in a week at all.
It can't be done in a week. So
Okay, I thought you just said
feel good about that.
Okay.
This is a pilot program, and by the way,
Oh no, not for us right now.
Oh.
What you just explained in using this, then turn it around in a week when you teach it again. I'm like, how? How are you doing this?
Yeah, I see what
Okay,
you're
you
saying.
didn't say that?
No, it would take longer than a week, and it would take time. Yes. Now, I guess what I was saying is,
Sorry,
if you
could I-
only have a week, 1 second, Sasha, if you only have a week to turn things around, I mean, looking at the data and maybe finding one thing that you can hit on is probably doable.
Okay.
What is-
Thank you for clarifying, because I'm like, how do you do this so quickly? Because I can't.
No. And it would take lots of practice and lots of practice at looking at the data to be able to find more than one thing in a week. I mean, even a week, it would take longer than a week for sure.
And one more thing that I've been trying to think about how I can use this. So I have access to Taurus now. I'm thinking about how to use this in my actual practice.
Mhm.
I don't, Taurus is not mine. My students aren't going to pay for it. So
Right.
I know that. I have Brightspace. I don't know if Brightspace has these I've never built a quiz doing this, so I don't even know if I can. But if I can, I would like to find out how. And on top of that, our instructional design team has a request into SUNY asking them to give us access to advanced analytic tools, which we are locked out of for some reason.
Mhm.
So we had access to pretty advanced analytic tools in Blackboard that you could just go on and see time on task, and you could see a million things. And for whatever reason, they locked us out of them. So trying to figure out, I see the value in this. I deeply see the value, but trying to figure out how I can actually do this is,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just kind of how, because I can't do this without you and your tool.
So, one of the things that my team and I have been discussing, well, a few things in response to what you're saying. One is the next thing we want to do, to help with this fellowship program is to start to, look at Brightspace and other tools in Canvas and see what data is available in those tools, so we can be more pointed about, well, here's where you can go to get similar data in the tools that you have. So that's one thing. We haven't done that yet, but we definitely want to be doing that. So maybe we can work with you. Even
I would
after
be
the
happy
fellowship.
to help you with that. Having that said, I've been begging for it for several weeks. Particularly the time on task and how they're using my resources to do the work.
Mhm.
And because this is really valuable data to me that I've been using for years, and it's been taken away.
Yeah.
And the instructional design team has access to it. Professors don't. So remember, I'm not an instructional
Hmm.
designer, I'm a
Right, right.
professor, right? So, our instructional design contact lady, she's like, I didn't know you guys didn't have access. I put a request in. She's like, I can see everything. I'm like, well, what good does it do her? She just, like, it's not, she doesn't want to go in my class and figure out why they did bad on that assignment. I want to do that.
Mhm.
So that's something we're working on, but yeah, I'd be happy to help you with that. But
And
I
the
can-
other part I wanted to say is that there are like our analysis tools, the ones that we're kind of giving you a teaser on that aren't built in Taurus, like DataShop and LearnSphere. Those can be used with any other content or like other data. So if you could get a data download, then there might be a way for us to import that into one of these tools and use those tools to analyze the data that you do have access to. But we'd have to work with you kind of one-on-one, and we're happy to do that.
yeah. Thank you. This is all very interesting to me, but I just like, I have such a making mind. I'm like, okay, I need to make this. I need to do this. And I'm like, I can't, I don't have the stuff.
Yeah.
But we're progressing on it, but it's exciting, but it's kind of like the little bites I'm getting. I'm like, okay, a little bite ain't gonna cut it in a master's level class. I can't be throwing this at them if it's not perfect.
Right.
Or as close as I can get it to perfect.
Right. Sasha, did you have
Thank you.
something to add that I didn't mean to cut you off?
Oh no, sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. I just wanted to say the same thing that you did, that the thing about the week wasn't like in general you should do this in a week. It was like if you have a week, you can use data analysis to zone in on the most important or like most high impact thing.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah, sorry.
repeating it. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. And then just to get to some of the comments in the chat. So wondering how we will get this data and when the write-up's due. Yeah, I'm gonna talk you through all of that next. And then the depth of the data available feels more than what a standard person may need. I wonder if there could be a more tiered approach. I think there is a tiered approach here, actually, and I think it's maybe not as apparent in these steps as I wanted it to be, but like really just thinking about looking at patterns and seeing, I mean, if you just look at patterns in the data, then you'll start to see places that you can hone in on and improve just from that. We like to look at, I don't know, it's interesting to hear from others, but I know I like to look at the item level analysis first, because that tells me how each of my, that's about performance. It's about how students are actually performing against the skills. And that right there, I think tells me a lot about things they need to be able to do to the course the next time around.
So the first question was Sign, who also asked, and how will we know there is a course for us to test for our colleagues? And the second question about depth of content, depth of data was Jill Haskell.
So if there's any other observations, questions, ideas. It sounds like a lot and it seems like a lot, but it really comes down, it's for me, it really comes down to, you know, the performance of the students. Are they performing? Are they able to practice and show mastery in a way that's, you know, they're performing less and less errors. And that's what I'm looking for ultimately. And for those places where I'm not seeing that happen, that's where I go in, and it could be like just a page in my course where I thought, oh, I thought I explained this very clearly, but it needs to be explained differently or better, or have another example, and it could make all the difference. So let me go back to how you're all going to do this and finish up. So you all have been working on your course, and although this is the last synchronous session, we have office hours on Friday, and we'll have additional time next week and office hours next Friday as well. We don't really have an end date to this. I'd like to be able to, hopefully you all can wrap up the work that you're doing and get some improvement ideas in your improvement plan in the next couple of weeks. But there's some careful coordination we need to do to make sure that you finish, that you get the data that you need, and that we're able to provide some insights to you that you can use in your improvement plan. So let me just take you into, so the first step is to finish your course. Make sure that you have everything built into you know, your module, your lesson, whatever you want to call it, that your assessment items are built in there. And once you do that, you're going to publish your course. And what that means in Taurus, and here I'm in Taurus, I'm in a overview page of a project that I'm calling the Cuisine of Northern Spain. And the first thing you want to do is make sure that down here in publishing visibility, you've set this as either open or project authors. I would, you know, it defaults to project authors. You might want to just double check that you didn't select one of the others. When it's open, it means that you've put a course out on Taurus that other instructors can build and use those materials for a course section. If you don't have it open, then, and it's only set to project authors, then it's only you and anyone that you add as a collaborator, that you invited as a collaborator, will be able to create a course section. So that's why this is called a project. This is basically a repository of all your materials that could be delivered in a course section. So that's the first step. The second step is to go to publish. And when you go here, you probably won't see anything here. So once you publish your course, your project once, it then starts to keep track of any changes you've made in that course. So in that project, apologies. And when in what you last published. So you'll go here, and you probably won't have anything here yet, and you'll just hit this publish button. And when you do that, it basically puts it makes the project visible to be able to create course sections from. So, and again, we can help you through any of these steps for sure. So you hit publish. This button here automatically pushes publication update to all products and sections. This means that if I have course sections that were created for my project out there, that any updates that I publish now will automatically go out to those sections. You can imagine a situation where I'm just fixing typos in a project. And so I don't want students to see those typos who are using that course already. So I can push that out automatically. But there might be another situation where I've added a whole module to my project, and an instructor out there who's using my project as their course section might not need or want that module. And so in that case, I might not want to automatically push it. And any instructors who are using this content will get a notification of these publication. We'll get a message, a notification about the publications. So publishing is just as easy as pushing this button, even though I just talked a lot about this stuff. Then the next step, which I just remembered and I didn't put in my slides, which I'll add, is creating a course section. So the way you do that is when you're an instructor, I'm gonna sign out, and we might not have even talked to you guys yet about instructor accounts. But again, we can help you through this process whenever you're ready. We don't want to rush you. We know you're still probably building out your materials. When you're an instructor and you log in as an instructor, you get this new section. And basically what I was talking about, publication visibility, like here, I'm an admin, so I see a lot of different courses that folks have put out there to publish, but I can see all public courses or projects that I've created. When I hit new section, I can search for my project. So in whatever you named your project in Taurus. So I'm going to look for cuisine. And so it'll show me the projects that I've put out there. And then I can select the one. And then what I'm doing right now is basically creating a course section. This is like using the content from my project to now set up a course that students can get into. And once I do this, and these don't move anything, these are just for if you're in an institution that has a specific course name or number that's different from what you want to call it, you can put it there. These are things that just control some of the scheduling and gating that it could be done in the course. I'm just going to create my course section. That requires, oh, I didn't click this. Days of the week. And then you have a course section. So now I'm looking at this from, and by the way, this is, now that I'm seeing this as an instructor, it's telling me that there is an update available. And I can go in and look at that. But really what you really need is in the manage course page, you want to be able to invite students. And what this does is generate a link, and we have these I didn't make a registration open. I don't know what that means. Oh, I probably put a date on it. That doesn't allow me to, what do I do? Have it starting tomorrow or something. Do any of you know? There we go, edit section details. I have it starting today.
Do you want to check that box that says registration open?
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Sasha. That would do it. So I forgot that step. And now I can invite students. And what it does is it generates a link then that now I can give out to students to come into the course and take my course.
We've had some questions in the chat. Sign
Mhm.
asks, if you edit a published course and push it out, but you made one page not available, can you do this? Does it automatically make everything become visible?
You can do it a couple ways. You can do that through, we have this idea of a product where what you would do is create a product that is some subset of that material. So I can demonstrate that super quickly. So if you only want to create, like if you want to leave a page out or a module out, and you only want to publish a course, or you want to create a course section of some subset of those materials, you would do that through products, which is under publish products. And basically you create a new project, new product, I mean. And from here, then I can customize the content and select things or remove things that way. And then what you would do is, save that. I have all kinds of windows in play here. I mean, you can even rearrange content. Maybe it's because I didn't do anything here. I can also add materials, like combine materials from multiple projects. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. And then you would publish, you would just save this and then it would create that product. And then when you go to create the course section, you'll be able to see the product and the project. And if you name them, you want to name your product in a way that you'll be able to recognize that it's a subset of the materials or it's different from the overall project. And you can create a course section from that the same way you would a project.
And also in chat, back when you were on the instructor page, Jill Haskell asked, is this a different place than student and author?
It is, and we, I don't know if we asked you all to create an instructor account when you created your authoring account. So if you didn't do that, you can create an instructor account, and we'll send out instructions for that.
Is there some linking stuff we have to do for that?
I don't link my accounts, but yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there is.
Okay,
But
thanks.
it's something that an admin does, not something that the instructors do.
So all this is to say is let me get back to the so that's creating your course section and then generating the discussion board or the link. We're going to ask folks to post the links in the discussion board in Canvas so that others can look at your course and take it. But at least we, being the LE team at OLI, will all take your courses to generate that data for you. And then once you have the data, once we've all taken your course, then you can let us know when you're ready for item analysis, which then will run the script that'll generate the item analysis for you. And then from that point on, you can complete the improvement plan. So we really expect to handhold you the rest of the way, essentially, because not only is there a lot of steps, but we assume that you're all still working on your content and we don't want to rush you. So I would say that once you're ready to publish your course, either come to office hours or reach out through Canvas to schedule something, and we'll sit down with you. One of us will, find a time to sit down with you and take you through it, the rest of this process. So the only other thing I wanted to say before the end of the course is, there's additional office hours. Please complete the post-course reflections, that there will be some in posted in Canvas. And the survey will be sent out from Corey from SUNY, and all your friends, because we'll be doing this again. We'll be refining this based on all your feedback that we've collected, and appreciate it. Do you have to create the full so Joe asked, do we have to create the full 2-hour session? Struggling with the software itself and just cannot see how I can get the full content developed, finalized, entered, and all the rest. I would say maybe if you're having challenges with Taurus, again, we can help with that in office hours, but maybe you scale back a little bit and just create, a page with lots of questions.
Is anyone else, one of the big challenges that I'm running into is, as I'm developing, I'm finding that it freezes on me. And
Mm,
then I have to reload the page and then it'll let me proceed. But I'm finding I'm not losing any of the work, but I'm having to reload like constantly.
I just ran into this myself, and definitely have reported it. And I believe if I look, I think there is a hot fix going out. They said by the end of this week to fix some of these issues. I think that people are reporting with the performance of the authoring platform. So that's another reason we know this has been challenging. I mean, you're working in a platform that's kind of shifting sand, underneath you. It's in development, and hopefully they can address quickly some of these issues you're experiencing and that we've experienced too. But if not, then we will probably have to find an alternative to you all getting to completion. So just keep us abreast if you're still having those issues. Like the next session, you sit down to try and get this work done. Or maybe we can address it real time even. So we're always, so the help desk link in the platform, if you see something that's called technical support or help desk, I would definitely encourage you to use that, because our help desk team is very attentive and it tries to address things as quickly as possible. And they also know that you're all part of this fellowship, and so we can have them look for the tickets that come in from you specifically. That also sends information about what you're working in, like the browser you're working in, the page you were on, all of that, that can help the dev team, really hone in on what might have happened and be able to fix it as quickly as possible. I know that's not ideal, but it's not just you, I guess, is another way to say all that. I've definitely experienced some of that myself as we've been working to get the content out for this fellowship even. But I'm very excited that we have a new product manager who just was hired last week. So a lot of these issues should be getting resolved even more quickly in the coming weeks. So we're done a little early in terms of like what we wanted to share with you all. Definitely will stay on now, and as long as you all need us to, if you want to work in the background or go into a breakout room to ask for some specific help, happy to do any of that for you guys.
I would love to do that.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there's breakout rooms already for us. Okay, looks like.
Which of those things did you want to do, Jill? Did you want someone in a breakout room or?
Yes, please. Yes, I realized my response was pretty broad on that, so yes, please, if I could go into a breakout room.
You're like, just, yes to it all.
Yes, exactly.
And
Okay.
in chat, Beth Carpenter says, I'd love to go into a breakout room with someone for some specific Taurus questions too.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to create a new breakout room. So give me a second here. Huh,
It's possible that the way they're set up is that you would have to close all of them and then reconfigure the ability to create a new room.
mm,
So that might be a little.
okay, I'll broadcast to them. Need to close rooms to open ones. Just gonna give them a second to finish their thought before I jolt them back. I have 60 seconds.
Would anyone like to start asking a Taurus question already? Maybe other people have had the same problem.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I was wondering, like, on our course page for Taurus, all the pages, like, there's a next button and they do that automatic, like, I guess maybe not automatically. And I'm trying to figure out how to get my pages to feed into each other, and they are not doing that right now.
Do you mean that you'd like some pages to link to other pages?
Like at the like on our Taurus course at the bottom, it'll say like when we finished a page, it says next with the title of the page at the bottom, and then you click that and then it comes to the next page. And so I'd like, as of right now, all of my pages to do that.
They should automatically.
They do not, and that's I
Oh.
also felt like they should, and that's where
Are you in the authoring view or in the student view?
I'm in the author view.
Okay, so they won't automatically,
Oh.
they don't do that in the author view. They do that in the student view, and they actually, I don't actually know if they do it in preview.
They
but
do
for
do it in
authoring-
preview.
Okay,
Okay.
it's not doing it in my preview.
Okay.
I don't think they do it I don't think they do it in the, like, when you are on a page in authoring and you hit preview in the corner as opposed to previewing the entire course. I don't actually think they go in between pages. However, once you publish the course, or if you go to a full preview in publish, they should do that, and then they should do that in the instructor and student views.
That I was like clicking so many things trying to figure it out, so that is a relief.
And you know what, and that was exactly, I also had the same question. But I did figure out the difference between the views. However, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections to mine. And no matter what I do, one of the sections just does not show up at all in with the rest of the course products. So I know I sympathized with you, Beth. I was going crazy too. I was like, because I put in breaks. So I had like 1, 2, 3, and then it was the next. And I was like, okay, great. But now for some reason, there's one section I can't get looped in with the rest of it at all.
So Caitlin, sorry I jolted you guys back. I tried to give you a broadcast message, but I couldn't create any more rooms. So sorry, Angela, I had to like jolt you guys back so I could create more rooms. So now I've created 6 rooms that we can all join at will. So you guys are free to go back into your room. Apologies. So did everybody, sorry, I was paying attention to that for a second. Did you guys get your questions answered?
I
Okay.
think we're still working on Jill's, but Jill, when you say you can't get a section to link, you mean that if you hit preview course instead of preview pages, there's a section that's just not showing up. Is that what it is?
It's really weird. Okay, so yes,
Jill, now that we have breakout rooms, do you want to go to a breakout room where you can do a screen share?
I would love to.
Sure, I don't
Awesome.
mind hopping into room 2.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.
Meanwhile, in chat, Sign said, I apologize. I tried hitting publish, but I'm having a problem finding the link to the course to share.
Okay, Stein, you want to jump into a room because you publish and then you have to create a course section that course section that has the link. Does that help, or do you want me to show you? I can show you a screen share and show you. Okay,
Sign
cool.
said, I think that makes sense. Let me try it first.
Sure thing. Did everyone get a breakout room who needed it and wanted it?
I think,
Beth, did you have more questions?
I think that helps. I will poke around some more and reach out with things if something else comes up for me.
Yeah, definitely do.
Thank you though for today. This was helpful.
Okay, cool.
Feel free to poke around right now and ask
Yeah.
us things.
I have to leave my office now.
Okay.
I would, but I truly thank you, and I will follow up maybe I don't know, my schedule's getting crazy again.
Ugh.
Life is what it is,
These
but
days. Mm.
all right, but
Well,
thank
good
you.
luck. Good
Thanks.
luck. Mhm.
We like broadcast to the rooms or something. Let us know if you need extra people.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. It gives me the ability to broadcast voice or message, and message didn't work, I guess.
I thought it worked. I saw it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I think the issue with broadcast is it kind of flashes on the screen for a sec, so if you can't read it that fast, it's just lost. Sign asks, please can private room for screen share? I'm lost finding where to create a section. Aaron, you're muted.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Okay, let's jump into room 3.
Let us know